I'm Jody Williams. I'm the manager of Bridges to Hope, and we're currently here at our location on 39 Cookstown Road. We are St. John's busiest food aid center, I like to call us. Otherwise, it used to be known as food banks, but I kind of updated the name. And we really have a real focus on families and healthy food here. I've been here as the manager since 2018. And I've seen lots of changes. Way more seniors are having to avail of our services. On one end of spectrum, which are older, I'm also seeing a lot more students coming over from MUN, making their way over to get food. So basically what you're seeing is people that are on a really fixed income, having to avail of a food bank that might not necessarily have done so before due to the rising cost of living here in St. John's. We distribute what I would call two things. We call like essential food items. So you're just getting into your basics like tea bags, tinned milk, tinned beans, pasta sauce. And then on top of that, we will have here specifically, we have what's called a Healthy Hamper program. And within the Healthy Hamper program, the mandate is that all of our clients have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. They also, the mandate is to replace half of our canned soup, which is really high in sodium, with homemade soup. And also, out of 30% of our clientele is actually under the age of 12. So we have a Smart Snack program, which ensures that they get up to 5 days based on Canada's health guide, food guide. So yeah, come on in. This is our, what we call our food pantry. This is our distribution center, basically. This is where our volunteers work, our staff works. You can see it's kind of like more or less the same as a shop, a store. Everything kind of go around. They kind of take these, fill up the carts, bring them out. Clients pack their own bags. You can see here we have fresh eggs, which are donated from the Newfoundland egg farmers, which is amazing. We don't even have any kind of vetting. We have people that drive 2 hours here to get food because at their local food bank they only get canned food. So they're willing to drive to get homemade bread, which we give everyone, baked here every day. To get the homemade soup, to get the fresh fruits and vegetables. To them it's actually worth driving 2 hours to get those items. We have volunteers coming in. They come in 3 days a week and they bake 45 loaves of bread each day. So this is our community kitchen where we bake the homemade bread that I was talking about earlier. We have a baker coming in Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And on Thursdays we make homemade soup and homemade pre-made meals as in lasagna, etc. So when you come in here on most days, which is soon in a couple of hours, first thing you smell is homemade bread. We would get groups coming in, Girl Guides, or even a lot of the corporate people that make donations. When I first started, they tended to just give a donation, which was fine. But I've noticed over the past few years, they also want to come in, see the place, which is great, because what I've found then is they tend to donate over and over once they've came in, smelled the bread, did some of the work, saw how it all went down, and it's like, I think everyone has a vision of what a food bank might look like. So when they come in and see that, maybe it's a bit different than they might have thought. That it opens their eyes, first of all, and which creates empathy, of course, which is, well, I think that's what'll save the world, is compassion at the end of the day. I mean, if we don't have that, what do we have? We don't have anything left. So unfortunately, though, due to the pandemic, there's been times in the last 2 years we had 0 volunteers. We had to go with a pure staff-only model. And we're certainly only still back at 50%. We're still keeping our volunteers down to a minimum. But I mean, like, the worst case scenario for us was one of us, we only have 4 staff with no volunteers currently in our model, only a couple. And our whole time in the last 2 years, our only goal was to not shut the food bank down. That's what keeps me awake at night. We went from having 90% of our food donated to having to purchase 90% of our food. And then there was also food supply chain issues. So for instance, I go through about 400 cans of milk a week. There was a time when I could easily just go to one place and get those. There was times during the pandemic I could probably have to go to 3, 4, 5 locations and I wasn't getting my prices. So normally I would pay like a wholesale price. I was paying retail, but currently at this time, April 2022, our main problem is the price of food for the consumer is driving demand for the food bank up. So we're seeing a huge increase in demand of people who are actually working, like myself, single parents, can't really afford to make ends meet, having to avail of a food bank for the first time in their lives. So we're seeing a huge increase in what we call new people to the food bank. And then on the other side of that, of course, is we're buying our food, so we're paying way more. So our numbers are up and our costs are up. So those two things, those are the perfect storm of, it's not sustainable. Let's go with that. It's not sustainable. When I first started here in 2018 as the manager, like a really, really, really busy day would be like 40 people, and that was using like a whole lot of volunteers. There was a day a few weeks ago when we did 129 people in one day with no volunteers and just staff. So the problem then becomes, then it turns into everything then becomes more shopping, because now you're going through 3 days worth of food in one day. So a lot more resources, a lot more just running around, spending money, everything. I was at the grocery store yesterday, and it was the first time I was ever at a grocery store where strangers were openly talking about how hard they were finding it. We were all at the meat section. There was about 4 of us. I could tell we were kind of different demographics, and like none of us would buy the meat. We were all there, but everyone was like, nah, can't afford it, no. And not one of us, 4 people went through the meat section, and not one of us bought anything. And we were all talking about it in real time. It was like, this is getting out of hand, can't afford this. It was amazing. I couldn't buy the beef because I'm literally looking at a roast this big and it's $20, and I'm a single dad. I was like, I said to my daughter, I'm like, sorry, I can't pay 20, I can't pay for us to spend $10 on our portion. If that's just a protein, not what else is on the plate. You should be able to put a piece of protein on your plate for $1.50 in good, like normal times. I have a chef background, so even as a restaurant, you're pricing food and stuff, right? Chicken breasts used to be about $1.20 for one. Now they're paying like, so I've seen them as high as $7-8 each. Yeah, so 2 Christmases ago, I got a call from Maple Leaf saying that they had 5,000 hams that they wanted to donate coming down from Ontario. They're coming in fresh, they weren't frozen. But they had already left at this point. When they were on the way to Newfoundland, I was just like, yeah, okay, cool, I'll take them. But she didn't get into a lot of logistics. There's an assumption here by a lot of companies, maybe it's a bit different in the mainland, I don't know, that food banks have like loading docks and and forklifts and stuff. So I was in a bit of a panic. So I did call our local kind of food sharing association, I guess, and was kind of hoping that we could avail of their services and have the truck kind of go there, and then the food banks would go there.
Center.
Yeah, and then we would go to them because they had the forklift and they had all that. And unfortunately, they were unable to help us out, I guess, for lack of a better term, or it was kind of late in the day. It was I think it was even on a Friday, actually. So what I had to do was call up all the individual food banks and get them to come meet here. And then the guy showed up on the truck, and I'll never forget, and he's like hauled up out front. He came in, he's like, okay, where do I go? And he's like, you don't have like a forklift? Or he's like, no. I said, we gotta hand bomb them off. I got a bunch of people coming here now. And anyway, he started off and he was pretty nice about it. But hour and a half later, he's still in the back of his truck. We're still taking them off. People are still showing up. What I learned that day was what we need as those in the food game, for lack of a better term, is what I would call like a community freezer, a community cooler, a community warehouse even, and access to like a forklift. I've also, in that same time, maybe only probably 3 months before that, I got called up and a guy had 6,000 loaves of bread. Obviously I'm going to take it upon myself to try and do my best to distribute this bread. And it's just, and then even in that, what I discovered was, again, like, I'm trying to give away free bread. This central hub would buy time. It would allow for, maybe we could then get into some software where we put things into the system. You can go in and be like, oh, what's at the hub today?
A way to inventory.
Yeah, like what's at the hub? Let's see what's there. Oh, God, eat bread. Oh, there's bread there. Great. Before I go off and buy it.
Here's a question. To what extent is the way food banks operate really inclusive and democratic?
Good question. Well, I think we could certainly get a lot more input from the end user of the food bank. A very simple example is getting a client and having them on your board of directors. That would be revolutionary. I don't think that exists anywhere. That alone would influence things greatly. Also, I think there's a huge educational piece where clients have a fear of certain things, and there needs to be some way of rectifying that. So how do you cook, say, something maybe that's in the oven, but now you got to do it in the pan, and as a chef I know that's possible. So there's that, and then there's the educational piece on eating more healthier, like getting into like black beans. What do I do with black beans? I'd love to eat more. They're cheap, but I'm totally scared to death of them. Like I said, as a food bank manager, I know, for instance, if I prepare black beans and put them in a meal or a product and give them to them, they'll eat them without questioning them. But if I try to give them black beans, they'll always give them back. This is currently where our clients come in. So one of the things that's changed dramatically since the pandemic, and which is very unfortunate, the clients used to actually come in here, and we have a big waiting room, and they would wait. It was a lot more communal. I would talk to the clients, they would talk to each other. Now, since the pandemic, unfortunately, they just kind of come up to the window, show their MCP card, and then they kind of wait outside. So as the manager, I'm really looking forward to letting the clients back in. And as a matter of fact, I'm completely switching over as soon as possible to a client choice model. So right now we give our clients a predetermined hamper. In the new model, the clients will actually come in like they're shopping, and they will go around picking out the food themselves. And the center there that you just saw will look like a same as when we go into a place where there's all the fresh fruits and vegetables. So the idea then would be create way more agency, more empowerment, and give the clients a different experience of going to a food bank.
How's it going? We're at the Bonaventure Community Garden, and we're just going to tell you about some of the stuff that we do here.
Approximately 6 years ago, the Bonaventure Community Garden was formed as a collaboration, a partnership between Stella's Circle and the Kings Gate condominium that you see just over our shoulder here. So we were approached by the board, by specifically Michelle Sullivan of the condominium, and they said they had these 3,200 square meters of space that was formerly the Brother Brennan Field, a historical property between Holy Heart of Mary and Brother Rice here on Bonaventure Avenue. And the vision was to create a space where people could come and experience all the marvelous benefits of being exposed to this lovely green space, and as well to the benefits of growing and producing food.
This has all been level. So before it was kind of, it's pretty accessible now. It's almost 100% accessible, not quite there, but we have a path now. When we first started here, about 2016 was our first summer running the green team, and it was all overgrown grass. So it was like this huge, really piece of land, really nice land. It wasn't really used. If you look over there, it was kind of all like that. Like we've done so much work here. Like, you see all the long stuff there. We pulled and mowed, and the first year we just kind of cut out a triangle right in the middle here. So we grow here. We grow out in the boxes. We have parsley, a lot of tomatoes, red and green lettuce. What else do we have? We have green onion, and we grow spinach. We grow kale. We grow green beans. We grow carrots. We've tried to grow pumpkins. They keep getting stolen by the kids, but one day we're going to grow one. We're getting a new greenhouse right there. And in that, we've grown jalapenos, we've grown, what else have we had in there? Tons of different stuff. I was really proud of the jalapenos we grew though. And connecting to what we do with the food. So the first summer was really interesting because we were just kind of getting started. And all of a sudden, in August, we had tons and tons of lettuce. So we found ourselves scrambling to use it. But then Rob had an idea of, well, let's use the cafe, right? And we're like, of course, that makes sense. So we started just bringing all the extra food we had down to the cafe.
So the compost bins are part of a community composting project, research project that Viviana Ramirez Luna of Planet Consulting and I believe the St. John Social Justice Cooperative have started, and through an extension of our collaboration, the folks at the Kingsgate agreed to host these, and so the composting bins now are part of the Bonaventure Community Garden.
Well, we spin it, you can see them here, we use that compost, the compost goes directly back into the soil. One great thing I like to talk about with soil with my participants is that, we learn about, it's not just soil, it's just a bit of dirt by. No, it's not that. It's about, you got to take care of the soil. We just talked about the compost. You got to put some compost in the soil. You got to enrich it every year with nutrients in order to grow healthy, great veggies, right? And what's really neat about that is that I like to use that, think about all the ways, the parallels with their lives and this soil, right? What kind of nutrients do you need to put in your life? What are you going to do to plant some solid roots into this community? So it's amazing. You can imagine being here, and I have about 8 people, and we're having this conversation, and we're talking about that.
Tell me about the Hungry Heart. What do you do here, and how long have you been going?
So we opened in 2008, and we're a small neighborhood cafe at Rollins Cross, and we do catering and we do dine-in, and we leverage both of that, right? Every activity associated with prepping the food here at the Hungry Heart Cafe is intended to provide learning and opportunities for people to develop the skills necessary to go on to work or school either in the food service industry or maybe to discover another passion or interest, that sense of being part of a team. There are 3 pillars here at Stella Circle: real homes, real help, and real work. So the cafe falls under the real work side of things. So typically it's individuals who've experienced barriers to employment. And when I say that, it's a constellation of intersecting challenges and issues that people have faced. A lot of systemic stuff, really people experiencing the impact of poverty, and many times intergenerationally. We see folks who are coming, sometimes it's for their first employment experience, their first job. We've had every combination, right? When we first started back in 2008, our inclination was to hire everybody, right? But unfortunately, the business model, it just wouldn't make sense for a little 26-seater cafe to have a staff of 20. So we started making some great connections with other restaurants, other businesses that hire people in food service, and it was much more of a transitional focus for our work. Just about every possible career path that you can imagine has been experienced by people, and I would say that thankfully not everyone does end up in the food service industry, but for those who discover a passion, a suitability, they're inclined and they want to do it, just like all of us, right? You find and you do what you love, and we've seen people go on to work in a number of different food service environments, and people who've gone back to school to do. We're not a culinary program, and so folks do visit the college or Academy Canada or other programs and work on the Red Seal and those more formal career paths. So we're approximately 14 years, and typically there's about 20 people a year who make their way through the kitchen in various forms, and sometimes it's training. Some people are in a variety of supported employment positions where they're working alongside staff. So always with the view of, again, involving people in every opportunity to learn those skills. So we see people who move on to work in the food service industry. We see people who return to school. We're not a culinary institute, right? We certainly don't put that out there as what we do. It's more a workplace-based experience where you can see if this is the work that you want to do. We do a lot of meal preparation, so particularly evolving from the pandemic, where we produce a lot of frozen, nutritious meals, and in preparing those meals for people who are experiencing food insecurity, it's a great double bottom line, because the recipe reading and the veg cutting and prepping and packaging those meals is exactly where you can learn those skills that will be important in employability or school in the future. So we leverage all of the food preparation for our catering and for our drop-in, dine-in restaurant here at Rawlins Cross, and we use that as opportunities for people to come learn the skills that they'll need for working in a kitchen, and or just learning about themselves and where they might like to work, even if that doesn't happen to be in a restaurant setting.
Hi, my name is Atanu Sarkar. I am the Associate Professor at the Division of Community Health and Humanities, Faculty of Medicine, Memorial University. Today I will talk about the food insecurity among two most vulnerable sections of our society. Food insecurity is a global issue that concerns both developing and developed countries. Within any country or region, the status of food insecurity is not equally distributed among various segments of the population. Indeed, single parents and the seniors, who represent a sizable and a growing proportion of the global population, are believed to be particularly vulnerable to food insecurity due to complex web of disadvantages and discrimination. In the latest Canadian census, lone parent families accounted for 20% of the families with children aged less than 16 years, and among them, lone mothers accounted more than 80%. At the same time, nearly 16% of the total population of Canada are seniors, and 1/4 of them living alone. So we carried out a community-based cross-sectional survey of single parents and seniors in the city of St. John's to explore the level of nutritional awareness, household meal practices, challenges, and their coping strategies. The survey questionnaires were adapted from the Canadian Community Health Survey, and the project was supported by the Harris Centre of Memorial University. To reach out to the potential participants, we partnered with the Single Parents Association of Newfoundland and Labrador and the Senior Resource Center of Newfoundland and Labrador, and relied on convenience sampling. A field survey was conducted from April to August 2014, and a data analysis was completed by 2015. We selected St. John's for the study due to strong presence of the members of the two partner organizations. Also, the city is the most populous census metropolitan area of the province, which is a home of nearly 2/5 of the province's population. Our partner organizations sent request emails to their respective members and displayed the information leaflet at the front desk of the respective offices. At the end, 50 single parents and 48 seniors decided to participate in our study, and we have interviewed them. The majority of the single parents in our study were females. 8% of single parents are dependent on income support provided by provincial government. Only 1 in 3 had jobs with wages and salaries. Nearly half of the single parents in our sample did not attend post-secondary education. 94% earn less than $40,000 a year. Almost all respondents, almost 96%, are very much or somewhat concerned about the quality, quantity, and nutritional value of their daily meal. And 2 out of 5 respondents describe their eating habits are being either fair or poor. Time constraints seem to be the main barrier to consume healthy food for the single mothers because many of them actually do multiple jobs. 2/3 of the single parents bought food requiring no preparation or order takeout on regular basis. In the open-ended questions, few single mothers indicated that they prefer living on social assistance as it gives them more time to devote to cooking healthy meals from scratch. One of the participants, for instance, said, quote, "When I worked, always bought quick meals like frozen pizza, craft dinner, and similar to those kind of food. But regular eating of those foods are not good for kids' health. It is good to be on social assistance. At least I can have time to cook good meals. I can even teach my elder kids how to cook," unquote. Another woman said, "The social assistance gave me more time to cook, but it is not sufficient to buy good food. Foods are getting more and more expensive now. We cannot buy fresh fruits just one time." And remember, this study was done in 2014, and you have seen during pandemic and now the food price has gone up like anything. So those single parents, you can understand what kind of challenges they are now facing. So they said, we cannot buy fresh fruits just one time, and particularly when it is on sale. Food prices have gone up, as I have mentioned. So they said that is a big major issue for them. And for social assistance, it is no increased and no improvement further. If the social assistance increased, at least they can buy more food and they can leave the part-time job and take care of the children. When the participants were asked about their interest in community-based solutions to food security issues, 70% of them indicated their interest in having a vegetable garden so that they can grow their own vegetables for their consumption. Also, more than 60% of single parents are particularly interested in learning about nutrition, food budgeting. 3/4 of them are very keen in developing skills for preparing fast, easy, and low-cost recipes. For seniors, 94% of them are very much or somewhat concerned about the quality, quantity, and nutritional values of their daily diet. And 1/5 of them described their eating habits as being either fair or poor. Consumption of whole food by seniors who are living alone were lower than the seniors living with a spouse or other family members. One of the participants, a 75-year-old widow, said that, quote, "After my husband passed away, I have almost stopped making regular dinner. I just only make breakfast. For dinner, I just buy canned beans, fish, sausages, sometimes frozen stuff, pizza, macaroni, sometimes just a sandwich from a nearby gas station. I cook only when my daughters and my grandkids come for Christmas or New Year. I have lost all energy to cook. Also driving. Buying small quantities of vegetables at a grocery store, I feel a bit awkward," unquote. The consumption of green salads, colored vegetables, other vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, or potatoes as vegetables, fruits, fish, or seafood and dairy products among the seniors living alone were relatively less compared with the seniors living with spouses or other family members. So our findings indicate that single parents were more disadvantaged than seniors and more vulnerable to food insecurity. For seniors, in addition to poverty, existing physical disabilities and loneliness limit the use of public transportation to grocery stores and affect their ability or motivation to prepare balanced homemade meals. The jobs of single parents result in time constraint which limit the attention they can give it to quality food to their children. And also, it is a major constraint in accessing the information about cheap yet healthy diet alternatives. We conclude by strongly advocating for improving the social safety net, particularly for single parents, for instance, by promoting financial security, skill development, flexible working hours, and affordable childcare. Seniors need interaction with peers to encourage the eating of balanced meals along with the increased promotion of healthy foods. So this study shows that apart from improving the food production in the province, we have to pay special attention to special vulnerable populations. They need special attention in the sense, in the policy, so that they can have access to healthy food. So along with the production, along with making our province self-sufficient in production of the basic foods, we have to pay different attention to these vulnerable people. And in this regard, the community-based organizations and the government can play significant roles. With that note, I am going to conclude my presentations. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you very much.